Bullets fire in the distance as I wake up from a long sleep. A race to the top, one that I reject. I'm just a solo, taking a step in the direction of peace. A solo looking for a place to settle down and enjoy the fleeting moments of a weekly wipe. And so I take that step and keep my eyes peeled, searching for that perfect spot. And while I wandered, I stopped at Mining Outpost for some quick loot. After almost dying, I stashed away some of my loot, and then I started preparing to build and looting along the way. I'm the type of solo player that doesn't just throw down a base anywhere to get a start. I tend to take my time, wander around, accepting the reality that I could lose a lot by doing this. But I would rather lose than build in a spot that I don't love. Picking a spot that I would enjoy is far more important to me than anything else in Rust. Eventually, I found this forest, and there were a few bases around, but the location was perfect. So, I started chopping some trees and gathering stone. And then, I began to build. After doing some farming and collecting more loot, I realized that I had enough to expand, so I took my starter base to the next level. At this point, I was focused on the grind, gathering scraps and resources, and after harvesting this bear, I encountered my first player, this wipe, who used the forest to his advantage, because I didn't see this guy at all.
You got me, bro. I appreciate it, man.
But he turned out to be a kind solo, something oftentimes impossible to find in Rust. And when I come across it, I value it so much. And in this crazy world of Rust, I sat in my base near my fire, simply happy that I had a base to protect what I have and to protect me. And this base design is tight. As you'll see, my upkeep will be very low. And even though the space might be a bit limited, it was plenty for me. The inside of my base was lit up with embers and fire as my campfire and my furnaces burned on. I laid down a grill and started cooking. On this particular wipe, I felt like the wolves were out to get me. Every time I left my base, I would get swarmed. Now, it's probably because the wolf AI got an update, but man, it really made this wipe harder. As a solo, I hate clutter, and it's important to clean out your boxes and make sure you hold on to only the important items. That's the best way to maximize your space. And so, I took those items to Outpost to recycle them. In order to keep my base hidden in the forest, I didn't want to cut down the trees around my base, so instead, I brought stone with me to Outpost to trade in for wood. I can do is show you that in my world, it's not always rainbows and butterflies, but I keep chasing and chasing until eventually I find a butterfly that leads me to that rainbow. The losses outweighed the wins, and I was ready for that to change. So I grabbed a bow and a handful of arrows, and I made my way to the closest entrance to the underworld. As soon as I had my mixing table down, I made some ore tea, and when the moment felt right, I drank it. If you enjoy content like this, then I hope you subscribe. We're on the journey to 10K subscribers, and just like Rust, the journeys aren't easy, but we have to try. At this point, I was ready to build out the second floor, and I had the stone to do it, so I got it done. And while I was in the flow of building, I went ahead and honeycombed the base, as well as build out an entrance. To me, the base felt much stronger now, but I was still in need of some real protection. So, at Outpost, I purchased a SAR. Once I researched this SAR, my entire wipe would change. was making great progress, but in moments like this, I often take a second and step back, because as we know, good things don't last forever, and in the darkness of the night, I could see a lurking player. So I made a run back to Outpost. Then suddenly, I heard this. I considered that Outpost run to be a win once I got my loot home. And this mining outpost run started off as a win too, until this. But I didn't let these losses stop me. After I would die, I would take a moment, go make some coffee, relax a little, and then get right back to it. This marks the turning point of the wipe. Now that I had guns and ammo in my base, it was a whole new story. was starting to take more risks on the battlefield. And in this particular case, things would have gone my way if it wasn't for, can you guess? A reoccurring theme in this wipe. But honestly, I couldn't help but feel like this felt more like a true survival game. The wolves were beautiful, and they worked together. This may not be a big deal to most, but to me, the wolf movement update changed the game completely. I found myself at launch site because there was noise emanating from it. So I slowly made my way in after realizing what happened. I waited for the fire to cool down, but I couldn't see who had caused this. Until eventually, I saw a flashlight, and that's when he saw my flashlight too, followed by this. I could have kept waiting, but I didn't want to risk it because I knew he was coming back. No one takes a loss like that lightly, so I just took off. I wanted to set up power in the base, mostly so that I could see at night, and this would take a decent amount of resources, but mostly time, but that was okay. I got my solar panel set up and hooked into my battery. It was a simple concoction, but it worked for me. And on this particular run, coming home from Outpost, things were a bit different when I arrived. With the flick of a switch, my base felt more like a home. Thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks to my YouTube members. This was part 1. I'll see you all in the extended version next week for a glimpse of the entire wipe. You've been watching an Orange Dream production.